Welcome to the deep dive. We are so glad you could join us today.
We really are. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, if you are tuning in right now, you're probably someone who appreciates the finer details of how greatness is built.
Right, because the champions aren't just born out on the grass on game day.
Exactly. They are meticulously constructed behind closed doors, in the war rooms and at the selection tables over months and years of planning.
And today, we are opening up a document that serves as an absolute masterclass in elite team building.
We have our hands on the official source material, the 2026 Carlton Blues official roster and tactical blueprint.
It's a heavy read, but it is packed with insight.
Oh, totally. Our mission for you today is to unpack exactly how Coach Michael Voss has constructed the official 2026 Best 23 squad at Icon Park.
And we are going to look at how they line up out there.
But I want to be clear right from the jump. This isn't just a list of names and jersey numbers to memorize.
No, not at all.
This is a fascinating, highly transferable look into top-tier organizational strategy.
It genuinely is. And I am thrilled we get to dig into this with you today.
Me too.
Because when you analyze this specific blueprint, a very deliberate, overarching theme emerges from the front office.
What's the main takeaway there?
The Carlton Football Club has built a roster with mathematically zero obvious weak links.
Wow. Zero.
Zero. And that concept is huge. Because in professional sports, and frankly in most corporate businesses too, teams usually have a compromise somewhere.
Yeah, there's always a gap or a temporary patch.
Right, or a rookie they just hope the opposition doesn't exploit. But this 2026 squad has been designed from the ground up for a relentless, high-pressure model that makes them a genuine premiership threat.
They've basically taken their reigning elite core and surrounded it with highly targeted additions.
Additions that completely reshape their depth chart. The stakes here are incredibly high.
They really are. They aren't just putting a team on the park hoping to compete for 4 quarters.
No, this blueprint is engineered to dictate and dominate the high-intensity environment of the modern game.
Okay, let's unpack this. We can start right at the absolute foundation. We need to head straight to the defensive wall.
The backline.
Right, the backline. This is where the entire tactical blueprint is anchored, and it all revolves around the fullback position.
You simply cannot talk about this defensive unit without shining a massive spotlight on jersey number 23, Jacob Weitering.
Looking at how he's deployed here, he is operating as the premier key defender in the game.
Without a doubt.
I like to think of Weitering like the reinforced steel foundation of a massive skyscraper.
I like that.
You don't necessarily notice that steel when you're admiring the shiny glass penthouses on the top floors, but absolutely everything else is built upon his stability.
Right. If that foundation cracks, the whole building comes down.
Exactly. He is the anchor for the entire structure.
Well, the skyscraper analogy works to a point, but I'd argue it's almost too rigid for what we are seeing here. Weitering isn't just standing there holding the building up. He is actively directing traffic in real time.
Okay, that makes sense.
If he's the steel foundation, he's a foundation that can move, anticipate, and shift the weight of the entire structure based on the wind.
And because he is so reliable in locking down the opposition's most dangerous forward.
It gives the players flanking him the psychological freedom to take risks.
And that brings us to Nic Newman, wearing number 24, and the vital new veteran addition, Nick Haynes, in jersey 26.
Yes.
I noticed the emphasis on those two on the flanks. It seems like their entire job is focused on intercepting the ball and providing aerial support.
It is.
Why is that specific skill set so heavily prioritized in this 2026 defensive setup?
Because modern defensive structures require a completely different mindset than they did a decade ago.
It's not just man-on-man anymore.
Exactly. It is no longer just about spoiling the ball or tackling the guy who catches it. You need players who can dominate in the air, read the flight of the football off the opponent's boot, and kill the forward entry before it even hits the grass.
So an intercepting specialist like Newman doesn't just stop a goal.
Right. He actively steals the psychological and physical momentum.
But to do that safely, to leave your assigned man and jump at the football, you need absolute trust.
You need trust that Weitering has the primary target covered. Adding Haynes to that mix creates a nearly impenetrable wall in the air.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like having a home security system that doesn't just bolt the doors, but actually intercepts the burglar's radio signal before they even reach your property line.
That is a great way to put it.
But once they get that ball back, they have to transition. They need to move it out of the danger zone.
And that brings us to the halfback line.
Looking at the setup, it is this wild mix of towering height and absolute blistering
It
pace.
really is.
You've got Mitch McGovern, number 11, and Lewis Young, number 33. Their primary directive is using their size to control the corridor.
Yes.
For anyone trying to visualize this, why is controlling the corridor so critical?
Think of the AFL field, which is a massive oval, like a giant dartboard.
Okay.
The corridor is the bullseye strip running straight down the middle, directly from goal to goal. It is the shortest, fastest, and most dangerous route to score.
So if you control the corridor, you control the game.
Precisely. Now, for you listening who might not have stood on an AFL field recently, when we talk about McGovern and Young using their height to take a mark, we mean they are catching the kicked ball cleanly out of the air.
And in this sport, doing that earns you a free kick.
Right, a moment of uninterrupted possession. So when these tall defenders take a mark right in that central corridor, the opposition is instantly put on their back foot.
They have to scramble to defend the most lethal part of the ground.
And right in that moment of hesitation, when the opposition is scrambling to cover the big guys in the middle, Voss unleashes Adam Saad, wearing jersey 42.
His role is purely about blistering line-breaking run.
Pure speed.
So you have the Giants controlling the center, demanding attention, and Saad just lighting up the turf on the outside flank, essentially outrunning the defensive shift.
What's fascinating here is how this specific mix of height, corridor control, and pure speed allows the Blues to transition from defense to attack in the blink of an eye.
It's instant offense.
In the modern game, the best defense isn't just a wall. It's a slingshot.
I love that. A slingshot.
When Saad takes off, his speed literally breaks the opposition's defensive lines before they even have a chance to set their zone. It completely changes the geometry of the field.
He turns a defensive rebound into a high-pressure offensive strike in a matter of seconds.
Exactly.
So Saad has broken the lines, the ball is rocketing up the ground, and now we enter the engine room.
Midfield.
This is where the trench warfare happens. And at the center bounce, the spotlight naturally falls heavily on the captain, Patrick Cripps, wearing number 09.
The blueprint positions him as the spiritual leader of the team.
I know he's the captain, but tactically speaking, what is Voss relying on him to do in this specific engine room setup?
He is relying on Cripps to do the most brutal, physically demanding job on the field, winning the contested hard ball.
So when the ball is in dispute, surrounded by 5 or 6 massive athletes crashing into each other,
Cripps is the one diving into the absolute thick of it. The biomechanics of his role are staggering.
it has to take a toll.
It does. He has to use his core strength to stay upright through tackles, extract the ball from the congestion, and cleanly dish it out to a runner.
Every team needs a player willing to absorb that kind of punishment.
But when your spiritual leader and captain is the one putting his body on the line first, it sets an undeniable psychological tone for the rest of the squad.
It's leadership by pure physical example. But once Cripps extracts that ball from the crush, he needs targets on the outside.
And that's where the wings come into play, feeding the forward arc.
On one side, you have Blake Acres in jersey 13, whose entire game is built on relentless endurance.
He just doesn't stop running.
Right. And on the other wing, there's a massive new addition. Oliver Florent, wearing number 14, bringing elite ball movement.
It feels like a very deliberate contrast in styles on the outside.
It is a brilliantly designed 1-2 punch. Endurance is crucial on the wing because you are running baseline to baseline, constantly providing a safe outlet pass.
So Akers is there to systematically wear down his opponent's legs over 4 quarters.
Exactly. But Florent is the precision instrument. He brings elite distribution.
You have Akers exhausting the defense with his running capacity, and Florent acting as the sniper to carve up whatever defensive structure is left standing.
But let's rewind just a second and look at the players right in the middle with Cripps, the followers group.
The ruck and clearance structure.
It all starts with the physical ruck presence of Mark Pittonet, jersey number 27. He is positioned as the primary feeder.
Exactly. For those who might not be familiar with the mechanics of a center bounce in Aussie rules, the umpire forcefully bounces the ball high into the air, and 2 massive ruckmen run and jump at each other.
They're essentially wrestling in midair to tap the ball down to their smaller midfielders.
Yeah, it takes a massive physical toll. Pittonet is a huge body.
His job isn't necessarily to be the most elegant player on the grass, right?
No, his job is to act as a battering ram, to absorb the contact, win the tap, and create that crucial first initial advantage for Carlton.
And the players, he is tapping that ball down to make up an elite superstar pairing. Sam Walsh, number 18, and Adam Saad, number 05.
The blueprint relies on this combination to create a clearance-dominant group.
For you listening at home, why is being clearance dominant the absolute holy grail for a coach like Michael Voss?
Because winning the clearance dictates the tempo of the entire match.
It's all about control.
Right. If you are clearance dominant, meaning you consistently win the ball out of the center bounce and stoppages, you are constantly putting the game on your terms.
You're forcing the opposition to constantly play from behind.
To react rather than act.
Yeah.
You are starving them of possession while feeding your own forward line.
It is the central engine that powers the entire high-pressure model.
If the midfield engine fails, the defensive wall's under siege and the forwards starve.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because when that engine room is humming and that clearance-dominant midfield gets the ball moving forward, we enter the scoring arc.
The forward line.
And the setup here is described as a two-headed monster in the air.
It certainly is.
You've got Harry McKay, wearing number 10, and Brody Kemp, number 17, operating as the primary key targets.
Honestly, if I'm a defender and I have to look up and see both McKay and Kemp bearing down on me to catch a football,
I'd probably just pretend to tie my shoe and hope they run past me.
Exactly. It's a terrifying amount of size and power.
It creates a literal nightmare matchup for any defensive coach. You simply cannot double-team both of them.
It forces the defense to make impossible split-second choices.
If you put your two best tall defenders on McKay and Kemp, you leave yourself incredibly vulnerable at ground level.
And that is exactly where the crucial support cast operating at half-forward comes in.
You have Zach Williams in number 06 bringing a ferocious high-pressure work rate,
paired with Elijah Hollins, number 20, who brings genuine creative flair.
So it's about what happens when the perfect plan fails. If McKay or Kemp don't catch the ball clean and it spills to the grass, Williams is right there.
Precisely. In the modern AFL, a clearance isn't always pretty. Sometimes the ball hits the deck in the forward line, creating absolute chaos.
And Williams' pressure ensures the defense can't easily scoop it up and clear it out.
He locks the ball inside the danger zone. And then you have Hollins, who thrives in that chaos.
He has the creative vision to find the tiny pockets of space and hit an open man when everyone else is panicking.
You have brute force in the air,
Yeah.
relentless pressure on the ground, and surgical creativity feeding off it.
I am absolutely fascinated by this forward setup, and we haven't even talked about the deepest, darkest parts of the forward line yet.
Oh, the deep pockets.
Deep in the scoring arc, the Blues have brought in two massive acquisitions that provide a lethal scoring threat from the absolute hardest parts of the field.
We are talking about the wizardry of Will Hayward, wearing number 19, and the elite finishing of Ben Ainsworth in jersey 12.
And we need to pause here to explain just how difficult their job is.
For anyone who hasn't stood in the deep pockets of an AFL oval, it is the absolute hardest place to score from.
You are pressed right up against the boundary line, 50 meters away, with almost zero mathematical angle to the goalposts.
You literally have to bend the ball through the air using pure physics and spin.
The fact that they use the word wizardry for Hayward paints a perfect picture.
These guys don't need a perfectly weighted pass or an open field. They can collect a messy ground ball near the boundary line, spin out of a tackle, and somehow thread the needle.
Having that kind of threat deep in the pockets has to stretch the opposition's defense to its absolute breaking point.
You can't just guard the corridor anymore. You have to guard the literal edges of the grass.
And this brings us to a massive organizational takeaway.
When we look at this roster construction through the lens of general management or business, a very deliberate strategy emerges.
The Carlton Blues have a core group, a strong central spine, Weitering anchoring the defense, Cripps driving the midfield, and McKay towering up forward.
That spine has always been elite. But what they have successfully done for 2026 is invest heavily in specialized role players to surround that core.
By securing elite finishers like Florent, Ainsworth, and Hayward, they have ensured that the hard work done by the spine actually translates onto the scoreboard.
They stopped relying on their superstars to do everything and filled the gaps with world-class specialists.
It drastically increases their overall margin for error.
Which brings us perfectly to the final piece of the tactical puzzle out on the grass.
The strategic interchange. The bench. We've got Jesse Motlop, number 03, Jordan Boyd, number 37, Matthew Cottrell, number 46, George Hewitt, number 29, and the rookie sensation, Jaga Smith, wearing number 07.
Now, reading that list, it's quite a mix of established grinders and brand new talent.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the entire concept of the bench in the modern game has been completely redefined.
It is absolutely no longer a waiting room for backups to sit until the starter gets tired or injured.
It is a highly strategic interchange. It is an active weapon deployed by the coaching staff.
Look at George Hewitt. He brings veteran versatility.
In a high-stakes game, the opposition might have a midfielder who is suddenly tearing your game plan apart.
And Voss can deploy Hewitt off the bench specifically to shadow that player, shut them down, and stabilize the structure.
It's like having a specialized tool in the toolbox ready to fix a very specific leak.
Exactly.
But then you contrast Hewitt with someone like Jaga Smith, the rookie sensation. Why keep a highly touted rookie on the bench instead of starting him?
Because of the immense psychological and physical impact he can have mid-game.
Imagine being an opposition midfielder. You've been wrestling with Patrick Cripps and chasing Sam Walsh for 2 hours.
Your legs are like lead.
And suddenly, midway through the third quarter, Coach Voss unleashes Jaga Smith fresh off the bench.
He is the specific weapon used to inject raw speed and fresh energy into the engine room.
He will just run tired veterans completely ragged. It breaks their spirit.
And rounding out that bench with Motlop, Boyd, and Cottrell, it really reinforces what you were saying about specialized role players.
These aren't necessarily the guys making the front page of the newspaper, but they are the connective tissue that stops the high-pressure model from collapsing late in the game.
It ensures there is zero drop-off in intensity when the rotations happen.
Exactly. It speaks to that overarching theme we discussed at the very beginning. Zero obvious weak links.
If your bench is just made up of whoever didn't make the starting lineup, the opposition will just wait for your rotations and attack your weak points.
But if your bench is a strategic mix of veteran stoppers and explosive youth, you give the opposition absolutely nowhere to hide for the full 4 quarters.
So what does this all mean?
We've traveled from the defensive wall through the engine room into the scoring arc and all the way to the interchange bench.
For you listening, the ultimate aha moment here is understanding the meticulous engineering behind a championship-caliber squad.
By heavily investing in a deep midfield rotation to dictate the tempo, securing elite key position targets to anchor the extreme ends of the field, and bringing in highly strategic specialists to fill literally every tactical gap, Carlton has built something incredibly special.
This isn't just a lucky draft class. It's a deliberate design built specifically to thrive in the high-intensity environment of the modern sport.
And for you, the listener, whether you are prepping for a debate with friends about the upcoming sports season, or you are a manager studying elite organizational strategy in your own field, this blueprint is a masterclass.
It is a brilliant case study in honestly identifying your core strengths and systematically eliminating your weak links to build a genuine threat.
Every single player on this list, from Jacob Weitering holding up the defensive skyscraper down to Jaga Smith waiting to break spirits off the interchange, has a highly specific tactical purpose that serves the broader high-pressure vision.
It's an incredible look under the hood.
The 2026 Carlton Blues are stepping onto the field with a roster that has, at least on paper, completely solved the puzzle.
But that does leave us with one final, rather provocative thought to consider before we wrap up.
What's that?
If a front office successfully builds a roster with mathematically zero obvious weak links on paper, how does the unpredictable human element challenge that perfect blueprint?
That is a fascinating angle.
Things like the crushing pressure of external expectations, a mid-season slump in confidence, or just the sheer unpredictable luck of the bounce. Can a perfect tactical blueprint ever fully account for the reality of human nature under pressure?
That is a brilliant question, and something fascinating to mull over as we watch this season actually unfold on the grass.
The spreadsheet says perfection, but the turf is where reality happens.
Absolutely. We want to warmly thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Carlton Blues 2026 Tactical Blueprint. It has been an absolute blast unpacking the strategy with you today. Keep questioning, keep exploring the hidden structures behind the things you love, and we'll see you next time.